I published a book called America Beyond Capitalism about four and a half years ago. And it really looked at the many things that were going on, which in a very down-home American way to change ownership of wealth directly in response to the 1%. We were talking about the 1% back there owning 50% of the investment capital. So co-ops and worker-owned firms and land trusts and very practical things that are happening that show people what can be done and what is being done. And that book was not quite timely at that moment because things were seemingly on the surface quiet. The new edition both adds to that material, but also suggests why it's happening and why the culture that we're now involved in and why the politics and the pain is really opening the way to quite a new direction that could take a powerful political force. And there's a whole development of that in the book that I think gives people both a sense of the power that's building up over time and where it can go, but also something about how we think about a new model of it's neither capitalism nor socialism that really starts with community and builds from the community up, but is sophisticated in its economics so that we start rebuilding healthy democratic communities that are also ecologically stable as the basis of our other policy developments. I sometimes call it a pluralist commonwealth or a community-sustaining economy, but these things on the ground have a direction that I think are beginning to build into a new model, and hopefully the book will offer some clarity about that. And we brought it out quickly for that reason, because people seem now really, unlike a few years ago, now's the time to have that conversation. Well, the thing that's most interesting when I was talking to Occupy Wall Street is that simply presenting the facts about there are 120 million Americans involved in co-ops and credit unions. People don't know that. There are 11,000 worker-owned companies. 5 million more people involved than are involved in labor unions in the private sector. There are 4,500 community development corporations. There are thousands of social enterprises, businesses that are set up just to help the community. And on and on. There's the State Bank of North Dakota. There are 20 states that are considering single payer. There are 14 states considering setting up a public bank. 25% of American electricity is now being produced by public utilities or co-ops. So on the ground, there are the ingredients, really, in a very decentralized way, of a whole vision of what a new society could be, not theoretical, though it leads to theory. And in the book, America Beyond Capitalism, I try to say what the theoretical implications are, what model it could be built. But there's a lot that can be done, and moreover, it can be done in ways that you can speak to fellow Americans about. There's no need for flamboyant ideological rhetoric. The facts are that things that make sense, that change and democratize the ownership of wealth, right down in the community and up at the state level, and ultimately nationally, Medicare, for instance, and Social Security are basically publicly owned insurance companies. All of that can be described and made part and parcel of a vision of what we could take beyond that.